Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We appreciate it. Welcome to the regular meeting of August 21st from the Board of Education. And then policy board members, our chairperson, the vice chair, I will be leading this meeting. And our first order of business is public comment. Dan usually has a nice disclaimer that he has, because we have a nice audience here. We will open the floor. But first, I'll read that the Norfolk Board of Ed welcomes public comment. We ask that all comments be limited to 5 minutes. Please know that it is our policy not to address comments immediately. Rather, when appropriate, we will follow up after the meeting. This allows our business meetings to stay focused and provide time for comments to be thoroughly considered. If you are going to participate in public comments, please state your name and address so we know where to follow up with you at, or you can leave your contact information when you leave. If there's anyone online who would like to have public comments, Janet Byrne will probably have the and let people know when you can speak. We ask everyone online to just stay muted unless so if anyone in the audience want to participate in public comment. Okay, thank you.
I have a letter from my daughter, just so sorry that we read copies. It's a solo story from the public road. I am unable to take meetings, but would like to give some concern. First of all, this is not a personal attack on any specific staff member or the Board of Education. I have an incoming student at Motel for the first time and want to ensure he has a successful year. I am interested in getting involved and being part of the solution. I grew up in Norfolk, attended Motel Elementary School, and I have lived here almost my entire life. When I had my daughter, I was excited for her to eventually attend Motel School, have the same experience I did. Many of us have formed lifelong friendships and bonds with our former Motel classmates and teachers, Mrs. Stotler, Mrs. Torrent, and Mrs. Terrell, to name a few outstanding educators who not only devoted their careers to Motel, but also lived in town and continue to live there. I feel like these times are gone. There's no affordable housing to accommodate staff and families. This, of course, is a separate issue and will not be solved by the Board of Education or Motel schools. I do know that these are difficult times for Norfolk, and the Board of Education school administration has had to be creative in order to keep school open. With that being said, I do not think that Motel made the right decision in allowing the certified teacher to resign and replace a non-certified staff in her place. It is my understanding that the previous pre-K kindergarten teacher was involuntarily transferred to a higher grade level and was not comfortable teaching that grade level combined, so that she resigned and the non-certified staff was put in her place. I do understand the alternative route to certification that the state of Connecticut has allowed. Sorry. In the midst of teacher shortages, and have been in communication with the State Department of Education about it. But why remove a certified and licensed teacher and replace them with a staff that is not yet certified? I do not understand that the staff put in place have been at Motel for some time and have experience as a professional. However, working in a school and being a certified teacher are two different things. I am a nurse practitioner. Would you allow an LPN to prescribe your medication because you have worked in the hospital for a long time? Of course not. You need an APRN or MD. I feel like this is the same thing. I do not think uncertified staff should be independently teaching a classroom, and this could have been avoided by leaving the licensed teacher in that classroom. Again, this is not a personal attack on the staff member hired. and I understand the state of Connecticut is allowing this. I know how difficult it is in Connecticut to become a certified and licensed educator, as that was my first career, and I still hold K through 6 teaching certifications. But this is why Connecticut has some of the best teachers in schools in the nation. What this staff member is doing is commendable, and I wish her luck as she tries to navigate teaching the classroom for the first time, and rigors associated with it and attending school for her 112 certificate. What has Hotel put in place to support her and make sure she's given every opportunity to be successful? I understand she will have a mentor from the program she is completing, but will she have one at Hotel as well? What she is undertaking is no easy task. I am concerned that all but one classroom teacher resigned at the end of the school year. I understand that teacher was given an exit interview. Will these be made available to the public? To the town taxpayers or read at a Board of Education meeting? This may shed some light on why so many teachers chose to resign and leave. As we continue to face dwindling enrollment, what is the Board of Education to make sure that our students are taken care of? The multi-grade classroom is controversial and carries many issues. Study conducted by Hale, Erdwin, and the National Curriculum and Instruction 2020 outlined many issues of the multi-grade classroom. I have a copy here of it for the Board of Education. While the study shows some positive aspects to the multi-grade classroom, a central theme shown is that often educators are not given the proper training or support needed to successfully teach in this modality. What training is being offered to the incoming staff to make sure they are prepared for the challenges they will face at the multi-level teaching level? Are they already experienced in the multi-grade teaching approach? Norfolk test scores in comparison to Colebrook are quite poor. Is this because of a lack of teacher preparedness to teach at the multi-grade modality? In 2019, Colebrook had an ELA score of 84.6 and Norfolk was 60.4. I could not find the most recent test scores from 21, 22, as they may not yet be available. This is a pretty large discrepancy between towns of similar demographic and size. What is done is done, and I think that with proper support in place for the new incoming staff and teachers, Hotel may be on track to rebuild what appears to be a broken system. I do think it is important to acknowledge and explore why so many classroom teachers chose to leave. Most importantly, so it does not happen again. I also ask that hotel school administration be more upfront and honest with what has happened and what is happening moving forward. I know it was shocking for me to learn via FB chat that so many teachers resigned and that unlicensed staff would be teaching the classroom. When I emailed Mrs. Valentino to ask about the credentials of the incoming pre-K kindergarten staff, she replied that her application with the state is pending. However, this was misleading because she has not yet completed the necessary coursework to become licensed and certified. Why not just be transparent and honest? I do also have a copy of the email here if the board would like to see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm just to speak quickly, then I'm gonna come back around again. My name's Chris Gomez. Everybody came here to get answered, not to just speak and then hope we're gonna get an email or a call or a chat back. I don't see how, just with her letter alone, it would take you guys 6 months to even get caught up on what's going on. So my question would be is, we're going to have like 3 or 4 meetings in the next 3 weeks, correct? And stay on top of everything that's going on. I don't see how we can do this month to month with what's going on up here. So now I have to sit back down with no answer, correct?
We have another regular meeting scheduled.
Well, I would like to, I don't know how this works, but I would like to have a motion to where we have a bunch of emergency meetings. We stay right on top of everything that everybody's got going on in town. And I'll pass for now, and we'll get back to me later.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, there's no one in the room. Okay. Debbie? Oh, that's good.
Debbie Dowling, I'm a classroom teacher here, I'm a primary classroom teacher. You can have a lot of people leave for a lot of various reasons. I was actually the pre-K teacher last year, I'm going up to 1, 2. I was not forced to, but I was asked how I felt about it, if I'd like to go back. I think that's some misinformation that is around town, some of the misconstrued or maybe misunderstood. I'm very happy to have someone today from our new. He's been here for I think 20 years. He's first as an intern in my class. As the college better than many veteran teachers I've ever worked. Amazing. The research he does, how helpful he was, how much he carried on with people. I think that's a better person. He's not like, I mean, he just took someone off the street. He can have temporary education. He has all kinds of hurdles to get into the program, for jobs here. I think it's really important that everyone knows. There was a lot of requirements, but really most importantly, the person who is filling in is good person. He's loved, he wants to person, he's phenomenal, and all the kids we're gonna have are so lucky.
That doesn't void the fact that he's not a person. I understand that. Non-so.
Sam, you had your opportunity to
Oh,
speak. It's
sorry.
Thank you.
I just think it's important that, everybody, but it's going to be effective. And people have a mentoring program, people have a mentoring school, so much support. Oh my goodness, the things that we have done here, we've done as much as a team. We've had to plan, come up with things. He's going to be some help. I wish.
Are they too far away? Maybe we can ask the people who are speaking to come closer to the board, maybe? Thank you.
Also, in your email, June too, it says that, Holly, enrolled half the file, was the job posted, and were there certified teachers that applied for it?
We will respond to that at a later time. It's our policy.
I just wanted to know, I totally agree with that. I think that's out of that, whatever's going on there, just caught wind of the pre-K thing this week. Again, in small little town, everybody seems to love to be on their Facebook. That's not an issue. That's like a third, that's like the smallest, that's not even an issue for me anyway. We have kids that, my son, for example, I'll let you know, we moved up there hoping that we were going to a smaller town and his reading would become better. So once we noticed that his reading wasn't there, we had asked this year at a parent-teacher conference about my son's reading level. And then we had made a decision with the teacher that my son would be going to the teacher that has left to get better reading. Aiden kept coming home and saying, Dad, I don't have to go there anymore. I don't have to go there anymore. Well, great, buddy. Yeah, I went 2 times. You must be doing really good. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So I opened a report card on the last day of school with a letter from the teacher saying that he was approaching average. That's preschool is another deal. We're teaching kids to get along and be good. We have kids that are going through the school system right now that can't read and write. And in the school system with however many kids you have this year, that should almost be impossible. That should be impossible. And my opinion, I ran larger groups than what you guys have for staff. No one should fail. No way should be failing. I mean, Winston school system's doing better. Don't you think those parents and teachers would love to come up here and teach a small school? I think that at some point, when we put our emphasis more on the heart and the caring and the feeling, that was stuff that needed to be taught at home by the parents. And if you have a student come in that doesn't have a heart, caring, you take that up with the parents. The problem with a small town is most of the folks that are going to be on your board for PTO could be the parents that have issues at home with their children. And once they group in, maybe you're having a tougher time speaking, saying, hey, little Johnny is a mess in school. I don't know. Are you having those conversations? To me, it'd be tough in a small little town to say, hey, we were out for drinks last night, but by the way, your kid's a disaster in the classroom. I've seen it. I brought these kids out we went to a homecoming at Regional 7. Other surrounding towns could not believe the way our kids were behaving. We brought the same kids to a 9/11 memorial. They destroyed the 9/11 memorial by being yelling and screaming. So I hear everything. Again, this town is so small, you guys don't cover your tracks. Well, we can't keep a student away from recess because the state says so. Did the state say that maybe you could put that student out at recess in the corner and have them sit there and watch the kids play? And maybe that kid would then figure out that, hey, I misbehaved. Again, I think we need to get away from the coddling and get back to the educating.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else?
Hi, Cindy, I just have two questions. Because there are a lot of rumors around town, I'm wondering how many children really are in self-school this year? And how many classes are combined? And it's true because I used to track all of that, of the 4 feeder schools, how we ranked, and I don't know that we've ever been anything other than 4. And for a small school that would have every opportunity for their children, our children should be up there, certainly higher than 4th academic, going up to Region 7. And we've been very lucky that the Region 7 education is exceptional. They become a blue ribbon school. And we've had many valedictorians that come out of Norfolk, but I'm not sure they got that education starting at both. My children went through, they both went to college, they both did okay, but I don't know that the education is going from here.
Well, I will answer that question only because it would be covered later. So we have 63 enrolled students. There's 4 multi-age classes. Pre-KK, which is early primary, primary 1-2, intermediate 3-4, and upper intermediate 5-6.
And educationally, do you think that that's a good model to be kind of combining classes?
Right, I can't answer that question, right? And I hate to say that, but it's not, if we had an open forum instead of regular board meeting, we'd be happy to address it. Right now, this is our regular meeting. We of course welcome public comment. We have it in the beginning so we can be here instead of breezing through our boring meeting, going through, what we have on our agenda. So,
Have you thought of any open forums?
Yeah,
well, I mean, that's absolutely possible. The administrators have their hours every month to have a Q&A session for parents and community members to join. So that is something that has been existing on the calendar. If you would like board members to attend that, that's totally a possibility. Our goal here is to be as transparent as possible. We record every meeting. We have all of our meetings publicly, and even through COVID, we welcome everyone. So, it's my hope that you don't think that we're hiding anything. But just to be clear, there are certain things that, I'm on Facebook. I see it. That I cannot answer certain questions that are board business. As members, we act as a board. We are not individual. We should not be talking about board business outside of the board. Legally, we cannot do that. So, it's tough for us as parents. We are all parents. We're all working parents. John's the only one. He has alumni from the school, but 4 of us here, and then Anne as well. We all have children currently enrolled in the school, which is rare for a town to have that. And I couldn't be probably saying all of this right now during public comment, but I want you to know, like, we're serving on this board because we care as much about our children's education as you do. And it's the town does. We want to see our students. So, Sandy, are you done? Did I answer your questions? Okay. Chris, go ahead.
So if it's the policy of this board, always respond to the comment, and I would like to respond to her, so do I need to do that? I'm interested in her question, and Chris' comment, and, the comment. She would make that more.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
That's what I'm saying, really, I think the time's gonna go by and we're gonna get like six questions. I think that if we all truly are wanting to make this situation better, which I would hope, because we're failing. We should all sit here today and say, hey, we're gonna meet next Wednesday, we're gonna meet this day, we're gonna meet this day, we're gonna meet this day until it's fixed.
Okay.
That should be the talk of the town right now.
Well,
That's why everybody's here.
okay, can I ask if we have a section of the new business on our agenda?
Yeah.
If I have questions to new business and ways to, how to
Yeah,
do that?
that'd be great. Thank you.
I don't have a problem with the guy. If we could get a copy of Jessica's letter too. That would be great.
Mike Doherty, 49 Colbert Road. I do have one question. The exit surveys from those, when can we hear them? There should be one, you should have one by now.
Oh,
Oh, I know there should, do we have them and will we hear them today? Yes or no?
Well, they're part of their employment records.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure, personally, I'm not sure whether or not that's part of like the Freedom of Information Act or if that's part of it. So, you know, Mary Beth can answer that. I have a question into our attorney. His initial response was that it's part of the evaluative feedback and he was going to do some research to see if in fact, if it is something FOIable, if it's something that we would share with the board and provide a summary, but I've not heard back definitively from him. yet.
What if the people that gave the exit surveys said, yes, we can read them?
Well, they could give you.
Good, yeah.
I have a question for you, Mr. Superintendent. We're talking about the lawyers and everything. And I've called into the state just to check, but are we all under the same idea that it does not matter whether or not a teacher is vaccinated with COVID-19? Would that hinder them, him or her, from getting a job?
Again, I know we're not supposed to have, but there's no more requirement by the state for
Right.
teachers to be
So
vaccinated.
meaning if you were to say not let somebody go or maybe kind of push somebody out based on the COVID-19.
It would have nothing to do with vaccination. No teacher is required to be vaccinated. No
Yeah.
teacher is any longer required to be tested.
Right, I just
All
want
of
to make sure
those
that we were all aware. The second question
Absolutely.
that goes back to that is when a teacher is applying for a job in another town, would it, would the school be skating on a fine line if a staff member was reaching out in negative to that teacher that was applying for the job and then they got back to the community?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but,
Meaning like when somebody calls me and says, hey, was so-and-so a good employee? I'm not able to badmouth that employee. So I think maybe common practice moving forward, we'd be very careful with that as a board.
I can say as a school board, we follow all of the laws and protocol regarding references. And,
Teacher to teacher wouldn't be a good way to do a reference, correct?
teacher to teacher
Or,
peers.
or, or, or vice versa, superintendent to teacher, or better yet, principal to teacher, whatever it may be. I just don't want to see us get jammed up in something that's going to cost us more money as a town down the road. Like I said, when we're in a small town environment, as you've seen on Facebook, it's not being run professionally. And when things aren't being run professionally, a lot of mistakes that happen and it's costing more money in the long run. But I feel that you heard me say, I really think we need to button up and make this more professional.
Well, in terms of references, when we get calls, reference calls, we follow protocol. When we call and check references, we follow protocol to the letter of the law.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Kurt, go ahead.
There's a lot of rumors floating around town, a lot of things. It would be nice, I mean, basically what, half the teachers quit. Correct? Or resigned.
That's not exactly accurate, but
I'm asking, that's what I'm saying, there's gonna be rumors, if there's something, put something out there that, like, a response from for education or from whoever, something out there that's actually, like, I own a business, if half my employees quit, that would be a huge red flag. Why is it happening? That's all, I imagine that's what most people want to know. Why did this happen? You know, if we hire more teachers, it's gonna happen again. Is it some sort of an answer to why it happened?
Well, we can work on what it is explaining that,
Just a
yeah.
formal response.
we will have,
Nothing-
we can certainly, and we talked about this before the meeting, planning a date for an open conversation forum where we could have a back and forth and answer questions. But as Virginia read at the beginning, it's a board business meeting and it's never intended for back and forth dialogue. So I know people are disappointed when they don't get answers and we can't have conversation, but that is just the nature of a board meeting.
Can I follow it as a question?
Absolutely. And your name was?
My name's Kurt Holt.
Oh.
Basically, why did it?
And just to put that into this question, to say that if everybody comes with the same answer, and would that person be willing to maybe walk away from their profession? If that person was the problem, because again, we're trying to make it.
Thank you. Matt, do you have comments?
Yeah, I do. A few years ago, I asked the, first selectman in Colebrook, along with their finance director, their superintendent, their head of their board of education, that's for a meeting, to talk about school consolidation. And a lot of people come in and talk to me about what's going on. The questions are what's going on at both. The answer shouldn't be, well, this is what we're going to do, and this is who we're going to get rid of or blame. It's not a blame game. This is, let's figure out as a community what we're going to do going forward. When we had that meeting with them, and I don't believe anybody on the board was on the board at that time. This was just before COVID. The plan was, we're going to try to break that over. It was going to be done by having some type of programs with them during school, after school, summer vacation, whatever that might be, in order to share learning, so on. To the best of my knowledge, nothing done. I have talked to people about that. In fact, I talked to their first selectman. And during COVID, that's obvious. About it. But originally, I thought he was going to be adamantly opposed to this, but he actually was not his time. In fact, he had a meeting today with his superintendent and to discuss that question. And I sincerely think that the Board of Education should start a plan, get a committee together to discuss with myself and the people of Colebrook how we can make something like this happen. This is not sustainable. 63 students, $2.5 million a year, very small classes. It's more than the money. The money is what we expect. We have to maintain the building. There are other obligations. But the most important thing is that we provide an education that is both educational through book learning, and also educational through the socialization of the students. And to a couple of the points that people brought here, the children need, I mean, honestly, they probably need right here, they probably need more discipline at home, but that's beside the point. But they need to have that socialization in school, so they know how to handle it, right? So we can work with a larger group, so when our kids go to regional, that when they get into seventh grade, they're prepared, they move on at a much quicker rate than what they are now. And don't get me wrong, I have discussions with city father about how when the whole seventh grade, when they come in, I'm not gonna say they're not prepared, but their test scores rise dramatically. Because they're preparing for something that we haven't. And again, it's not the board, it's we, the group is, that we have to work together to find a solution to this problem. My personal opinion is validation with Colbert, probably one of the things really need to do. But maybe there's something else. But I urge the board to consider that.
So I would like to respond to that because we have been, and we've met with the board members from Cobra. We've had conversations. Our sixth grade won't on their class six together this year. We have cultural events with COVID and requirements of the part and also the lack of things to bus the kids back to work together. Janet hosted a dance here with kids from all sorts of towns, and our kids were very lovely. So there are things that we have set in motion. I just don't want that rumor to go around of the board doesn't care, they're ignoring because we're not. That's not interested. We're not.
So it's very good, but if there was a way that we could a lot of the plans are there. That's great that there's the continuity between the schools, and I know about the dance that I was preparing for a Lions Club pancake breakfast the same night. So, but I, you know, I'm talking to some of those parents for but you know, it's those types of things that will help tremendously. And as I said, I'd like to see it work a little quicker on something like this. But and I want to make sure that everybody understands it's not a money thing. It's an education thing. It's a social thing. Like that.
It's disheartening to hear that the behavior it's continuing. It was an issue. It has been an issue. Addressing it was an issue. Stopping it clearly sounds like it was gotta be very thank
Well, we look forward to talking about it and discussing and working through it, not just talking about it, finding solutions. That's what we're here for. And, you know, I said to someone yesterday, I was so excited that there's all this energy. I wish it was different energy, but it's still energy, and that's important, and that's how it keeps happening, you know, to become better, right? If you're happy with things all the time, nothing gets better. You have to get a little uncomfortable to make things better. So that's what we're here for. Is there anyone online that has any comments? Or anyone else here that has anything else to add? Okay.
Is there extra training or support for someone that's coming in and teaching a split grade for the first time?
Oh, yes, I'll answer that. Yeah. And we have an incoming teacher who will be sort of in the leadership position for the most of the help the other teachers.
And they're in that same class from the whole, like they don't go for math with different teacher, or for language arts for different teachers. They just have that one teacher for everything.
It depends on the class level, right? Okay. And you want to add anything? Okay, one more, Chris.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm glad you brought up what he did, because that's one of the biggest things, and I kind of, this is how I feel. Some of the stuff that we were getting ready to bicker about, it's not worth bickering about. The school's too small. It's not healthy for the kids. There's no baseball teams, there's not gonna be any soccer teams, no basketball. We need to move quick. We can't just say, hey, business like this is usually, well, see you next month. We should be moving very rapidly on making that happen as soon as possible. You know, for my younger son, as it is, my younger son in second grade, he no longer will be playing sports. He's down in New Hartford for this sport, he's in Portland for that sport. Dad, I don't even want to go back to school. I got more friends here at basketball. That's just, I think that we should get rid of the negative energy, because we're not going to be able to fix. When you have a small little community like this, it's not going to work out. It turns into like the Brady Bunch. You're better off getting everybody to a bigger group. That way, if families in town aren't running the whole show, I honestly, I would hate to see us go back to this meeting and start bickering about, well, what school do we go to? It's a very easy decision. Whatever school has the better grades, that should be the school that we should go to. I'll leave it with that.
Sandy has something else.
I was just gonna say, is it posted anywhere, the number of kids in each of the combined classes? And is there one faculty member, two faculty members? Are they both certified? Are they not? Is it a certified person and an aide, or is it two certified people, or is it just teaching two grades? Is it posted anywhere online or anything?
I don't know. Well, our website has each of our classroom teachers and what they teach on their websites, and then the support specialists are listed underneath. And then the shared services specialists that also support all the classroom teachers are there. So that's all on our website. I don't think that the class numbers are there, because they just work through it.
But is there one teacher for a combined class?
And the multi-age classrooms, right now, yes, it's one classroom teacher. We have instructional assistants, we have special ed teachers, we have other support therapists. We have a math specialist that teaches math to certain grades. So that's all will be discussed later. That's fine. Anything else? And just for voting meeting. No one online? Okay. So I appreciate everyone's comments. It's pouring outside, so if you want to, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or enjoy the rain. So I will move on to the next section, which is approval of the minutes of our special meeting of June 30th, 2022. Motion to approve.
No, to exclude the minutes.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Okay, next is correspondence. I haven't received any correspondence, and I asked Ann to send me any. And Mary Beth, do you have any correspondence? No? Okay. So now we're up to superintendent's report.
Okay, so the first thing that I had included in my report is that, excitedly, we have a fully staffed school. Our teachers are all certified. We do have one teacher with a DSAP certification who will be fully certified by the state by the end of the year, but comes to us with a tremendous amount of experience and expertise. And second teacher that is coming on board is coming from many, many years of teaching in a multi-age intermediate classroom, and she will be taking over our intermediate multi-age classroom. And as Ginger mentioned a minute ago, she will take a lead role in being our multi-age coach and support person. In addition to that, we have looked at our professional development calendar and made a very intentional plan that includes supporting teachers in multi-age. Up to this point, it's not that we have not done that. We have focused on the standards, which is what multi-age is built around, but I think we were maybe not as clear in communicating that multi-age is really nothing more than knowing the standards, knowing the children and where they are instructionally relative to those standards, understanding the child's interests and abilities and interests, and preparing instruction that differentiates for that group of students and moves them along a continuum relative to the standards, not just the content, but rather using the content to achieve mastery of the standards. So the focus that we have had over the last several years on unpacking standards, understanding what the standards mean, how to instruct in the standards, how to assess mastery of the standards. We have focused on things like learning targets, making very clear to students what it is that they're supposed to be learning and should be learning in any given class. And then we've focused on success criteria. So what does it look like? So a student knows this is what I'm supposed to be learning today in this math class, or this language class, or this writing class, and I will know how successful I am because this is what it will look like, this is what I will be able to do, this is what I will be able to demonstrate. So while we didn't call it multi-age training, we talked about all of the things that make a multi-age classroom effective and a phenomenal model. And while I'm just on a little bit of a multi-age, it had come up, and it has come up about the ability of our kids to socialize. I had prepared this, I was going to share it with you anyway. If we were currently a hotel with 63 students in a traditional model that was in place when I arrived here a few years ago, we would have 2 classes of 5 children. We would have 4 classrooms with a population of 6 students in each class, 1 class of 9, 1 class of 10, and our largest class of 15. So, you know, with the multi-age, we have been able to make a greater learning environment. We know that learning is a social thing. We have students who can relate and work with other students, more opportunities for them to work with peers, have conversation with peers, find friends with their peers within that classroom, within the multi-age setting. But even with multi-age, our class sizes are relatively small. We will continue this year with the same as we have in the past several years, where students will be separated out for math. Math is a very different animal. It really requires grade level specific instruction for those standards. And so the classroom teacher will be teaching one section, and then our math specialist will be teaching the youngers or the olders, depending on what the grade is. So those classrooms will be very, very small and very personalized instruction for math as well. We have a new school psychologist. As you know, Caitlin left. They recruited her from Torrington and made her a very lucrative offer. And so she is closer to home and will be the school psychologist in Torrington. You know that one of our teachers retired for the second time. She's come back here as a second career, and she has retired. But Mary Crust, who's been our band teacher, will assume the chorus piece as well. So we didn't hire for that position, but we will still maintain our same level of music program. Our intermediate teacher that was replaced has moved to DC. So she left and has moved on to Washington, DC, Maryland area. And then we have still the other, let's see, our Mr. Beria will be our upper intermediate teacher. He comes to us from West Hartford. He has taught grades 3, 4, 5 for 17 years in West Hartford. He actually applied here for a resource position, and he's in conversation with him. We opted not to hire him as the resource teacher, but he is very excited to come and take on some leadership roles here at Hotel in addition to his teaching assignments. So I think we've covered all the bases, but every single one of our spots is filled with highly qualified, teachers, and we're very, very excited that we're going to begin the year with the staff that we have. We're going to have a meet and greet next Tuesday from 2:30 to 3:30. Hopefully board members can come. All parents have been invited so that, as we did last year, students and families can come in and they can meet their teacher, see the classroom where they're going to be this year, have some conversation, have some refreshments that PTO will provide, and it will be a nice way to start the year. In addition, we will have our open house, but last year was very successful, and families seem to really appreciate before the kids started on day one to meet their teacher and see their classroom. So that will continue this year. We've reconciled the town budget. We're all good. Once again, we have met all of our fiscal responsibilities, and the town has, treasurer has blessed our final budget reconciliation. We have to adopt bus routes tonight, so they were in your packet. I don't know if anyone has any questions or concerns.
I do have a question. And I apologize, I missed it. Has Rachel and Phyllis specifically been filled?
We have not filled that position because, for a couple reasons. We did post for it. We actually, early on in the process, offered the position to a teacher, and she ended up not taking it. She told us that she decided she really wasn't ready to leave the classroom after all. She didn't take the position. But the teachers that we've hired, both the intermediate and the upper intermediate teachers, are veteran teachers who have their 092, their leadership. They have had a tremendous amount of experience in the kind of curriculum and resource development that we would be looking for in replacing Rachel's position. And we think that we can fill those holes. For those of you who weren't here, when I came on board, Rachel was a preschool teacher and she had some piecemeal jobs. And at that point, there was no curriculum. There was not a single curriculum document at Hotel School. And it was critical that we began to develop that work, align it to the standards, and to have some documentation, some actual printed curriculum. Rachel was very interested in that, and so we created the position of curriculum resource teacher. Rachel was planning to go back to school and get certification and coaching experience to really be able to implement that role. As it turned out, she ended up getting her degree in reading and decided she really wanted to be a reading teacher. So at this point, we figured we would wait out a year for a couple, and another reason is that the two teachers we hired are veteran high-end teachers. I have never screened teachers based on their level of pay. We want the very best teachers. When we have an opportunity to hire a teacher, we look for the very best people that we can get, and we pay them. So we are over budget in what we had planned back in the budget days when we thought we were going to have the people that we had in place, or when we built the budget based on those people. So in order to make sure that our budget is not, overstressed, we're going to leave that position open. The difference in money that position leaves in the salary line will allow us to fill any holes with contracted services at advance and bring in that expertise that we might need when we need it. But we're feeling pretty confident that with the people who are on board now, we will be able to fill the holes that we were hoping to fill with that position.
Does that mean that the number of direct service homes?
No. We will still have our whole SRBI, our whole in place, and we have hired instructional assistants through the paraprofessional level, and we will continue to provide targeted services for reading and language arts. And
We see the same for kids with IEPs. I know Rachel did a lot.
so Rachel did not serve as special ed teacher, so
No,
we
not
still,
as a special ed teacher, but you, like, assisted kids.
she did, and we will still have that service through
That's what I
instructional
mean.
assistance. Right. Students with IEPs will still have our special ed teacher and our special ed carers providing all of those services, and that won't change out. Any other questions about staffing?
And I'm excited to hear that. Will the students have the same number of hours music?
Absolutely, nothing will be diminished or minimized by that move. And, it provides us with a lot more flexibility. Mary was very interested in taking that position, and for us to have one music teacher to coordinate will be really value added. So we're
You expect Bill to come to the meeting brief at 2:30.
Last year, it was probably the most highly attended function that we had.
This is the biggest thing going in town right now. We've got one parent, two parents, and 4 parents online. It's gonna be hard.
Well, I had to leave work early.
Right.
And I'm gonna have to leave work early for that.
When is open house scheduled?
Open house is the 22nd of September.
Okay. So our teachers work on a contract and their day ends at 3:30. So we can't plan an open house or meet and greet beyond that time. So it's always, anything with our teachers, with the exception of twice a year contractually, we can keep them. And one is our celebration of learning night and the other is open house. So
We can
that's
catch them
just
on the second date. The open house date.
the open house.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, bus route. Bus route, back to bus route. So, I thought your question was gonna be about bus route, but
Sorry, it was a question for me.
I just have, so, bus 70 gets to school at 8:04 in the morning.
That's being the truck.
Okay, okay, that's a lot of
Mrs.
idle
Lasco has
time.
been in, contact with the bus company and has gone through all of those little glitches.
Okay.
They are very well aware.
That's for you, that's a lot of idle time to be
Yes.
sitting around the school. Any other questions or, comments or about? the-
You don't have a substitute.
I do not, but more close to the, time when kids are letting them into the building at each one.
And will it affect the initial pickup?
Yes, so everything, the whole thing is being shifted there. And Mrs. Lasco then communicates with, she communicates with all the parents about what's on.
So we can approve this pending the time adjustment.
Knowing that the time has been.
Okay.
And there's no, input in the per weekend.
I'm not exactly sure. I think 4 of the 5 are going to Norfolk in the afternoon. Is that not part of the bus route?
No.
Okay, well, that is definitely happening. We have a pre-K bus coming at 11:30 and they will either bring them home or bring them to their child. Okay.
And would you make a note, Kathy, please, to have Mary Pat send the revised bus route list to our board members once those changes have been made? Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion to approve? Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? Besides those?
Motion to approve buffer,
Okay. Pending the-
pending the changes.
All in favor? Aye. Right, you have to approve. Thank you.
In regards to the bus, buses, they are aware of they're no longer filling up fuel at our public works department.
I made that clear to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now, next item is hopefully a bit of a fun discussion. Our new intermediate teacher has sent an email to Warren saying that in the school that she's been teaching for many years, it's a multi-age, small, similar school, and the teachers are all addressed as Miss Jen, Mr. Warren, Miss Amy, Mr. J, Mr. John. And she said she would very much like to continue that. And Lauren said, what do you think? And then I had a conversation with a couple of people. One of them was Holly, happened to be here. And I said, Holly, what do you think? And she said, well, the kids have always called me Miss Holly. The kids know me as Miss Holly. I would love to be able to be called Miss Holly. And so my recommendation, and I just want to share it with the board and have some conversation about it, is that in a world where we allow people to be using their own personal pronouns, that we would allow teachers to be called, have a choice, whether they're Miss Holly or whether they're Miss Alexson, with the understanding that they are introduced to children and parents as Miss Holly, Miss Alexson, and given the choice. Teachers would certainly have the choice. If they don't want to be called Miss Debbie, Miss Beth, then they introduce themselves as, Dr. Jacobelli, Talon, Valentino, and that again, if parents have a strong feeling about, I don't want my child calling a teacher by their, Miss or Mr. first name, certainly they can have their child call them by their last name. But I personally don't have any issue with giving people that choice, but again, I would want the board to be aware and have your feedback before we met with teachers next week and have the conversation with our teachers.
I think it's fair to have them interested, they would feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think it should be the teacher's choice. I mean, I think different teaching philosophies, some teachers might want to shorten rhetorical space between the students and them for certain reasons, and others may want to reestablish that space. So I think it's whatever the teacher's personal teaching style reflects. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I mean, there's something to be said for a very specific all-encompassing protocol, but some teachers, yeah, they're less formal, their relationship's different. Mr. Byrne will always be Mr. Byrne.
Always, Mr. Byrne. I said, there are teachers that I still socialize with that I had in high school. And no matter how many times it says, that, you're like old now. You can call me Mario. He will always be Mr. Cavallo, always. But, again, there's something to be said in choice. But, Ginger, what do you think?
I think it's up to the teachers. I do it every semester at the beginning. I didn't earn a doctorate to be called Miss, so there's a little separate thing there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
Well,
and-
it's up to the teacher.
And truly, I will be Dr. Iacobelli because I think there's some level of, and for me, I think as a superintendent, I will continue to be Dr. Iacobelli. So I get both sides of it, but again,
I think it's an interesting point for collaboration between families and teachers as well, because, having that conversation with the family, and the teacher, and if the family wants the student to address them as their last name, then, I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important talking point in, like a relationship builder between families.
Yeah, maybe we can send out an email to all the parents as a survey. See what the feedback is.
Amy, what do you think?
I think at first it gave me pause. Think that if it was from the perspective of this person feels most affected and most comfortable. Conversation you want to have anyway. With your kids, how do we take somebody else's perspective to gauge their comfort level? Yeah, so I think if it comes from that lens, I can understand it better.
So hearing no disagreement or downside from the board, when we meet with our teachers next week, we will make it very clear and have some conversation about how we have this conversation with parents, that they understand that it is their choice, what they want to be addressed at, but to make it clear that they need to students and to parents and to families to have that conversation and make sure that our families, that their families and their kids are comfortable with and understand that they have. So that's the conversation. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, hi. Anyone else need one? Restroom break? I won't call it a potty break. Then the only other bit of information, and I'll share it with Amy, because she's really our money person. We talked last meeting about, we thought it was access point and the 1-year warranty was this and the 3, but it wasn't access point. It was our firewall that needs to be replaced. And the difference of money, it was $1,900 for a 1-year warranty or a $2,200 fee for a 3-year warranty. So for the $345, we went with the new firewall with the 3-year warranty. Do you remember that conversation with, do we spend last year's money or this year's money? And we put a hold on it because we weren't sure about that. So out of this year's money, we spent $2,245 on a new firewall that has a 3-year warranty. Did I get that right, Kathy? Okay, thank you. And that's all I have, so thank you. So moving on to principal's report. Lauren?
So I wanted to let the board know that our custodians, Bob Marion and Tyler Yeltsin, have worked tirelessly this summer. I'm sure you can tell from this room alone, the school has never looked better. And so I really want to, commend them on their dedication to preserving this beautiful building and making it sparkle. I also wanted to recognize Mrs. Blasco and Mrs. Lippincott. During the summer, they have to organize and prepare for a new school year, and they continue to do an excellent job welcoming new students, families, and staff. I also want to thank our teaching staff, Darcy McIntyre, Debbie Talon, Erin DeBecke, and Skylar Garceau, who volunteered to be on our interview committee. Their dedication to our students, families, and staff is to be commended. I'm also very excited that we have highly qualified teachers and staff who are truly excited to be part of our Votel family. They are dedicated to supporting the learning and growth of each and every. In my principal's report, I showed you upcoming events from new staff orientations to professional learning. We have the meet and greet. First day for students K through 6 is Wednesday the 31st. Our pre-Kers come to school on the bus for an introduction to their classroom on the 8th. And we have the ice cream social on the 9th. The first day of school for pre-K is the 13th. And again, our open house. And to summarize our enrollment, our early primary grade taught by Holly Allison has 11 students. Our primary grade taught by Debbie Talon has 15 students. Our intermediate grade taught by Jen Spangle has 16 students. And our upper intermediate grade taught by Dave Ferrio has 21 students for a total of 63. I also, Dr. Iacobelli asked me to share with you the preliminary analysis of our school climate data. So I'm going to pass out an introduction page that talks about the 13 dimensions of school climate measured by a national organization that researches school climate. And then the school climate trend data from students, families, and staff. Every year we analyze our climate data and set goals based on that data. And so again, the first page talks about the different dimensions. There are 4 dimensions. Overall, they include safety, teaching and learning, interpersonal relationships, and the institutional environment. For staff, there's a leadership and professional relationships component. And what those indicators mean are described on the right. So you can refer back to that if you have questions about this. On the next page is the data broken down by dimension and by stakeholder. So the first table is the student data. It's important to note that for the past 2 years, we've been modifying our student survey so it could be inclusive of all of these dimensions. And so this data is not similar. The survey changed each year, and we finally landed on one that we think includes all of the data that we want to collect.
There's a lot of carryover, though. They're not.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of carryover. But I just want you to know that some of the questions have been modified. This year's data, I want you to also notice that under teaching and learning and under institutional environment, the way the student surveys are written are different than the staff and the family surveys. Those use a Likert scale, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and I don't know. Those terms are somewhat confusing, especially to our primary students. So I really want to make sure that I analyze the data from those 2 dimensions with our Safe School Climate team before giving you, an overall percentage. But on the next page, I'm going to highlight the blows and grows of that data in general. So you can see a nice steady trend of growth in safety based on our students' responses. The next one, it's not possible to see the spread of the data. The Interpersonal relationships is the next one, which has an increase from last year, and the institutional environment, that is one that I'm still analyzing and going to analyze with the state school client. The next table talks about our family survey. So again, the safety dimension is very similar from the previous years. The hashtag notes that we had a large percentage of I don't knows, which really, affects the data. So for example, and I'll share this with you on the second page, under something that we can grow, we got feedback around our school discipline program, and it's important to note that 24% of families replied, I don't know, to questions like that, which, again, we want to use that data to improve because we want our families to know, just like we did this year when last year we had a lot of I don't knows this school is accepting and promoting of diversity and differences. Last year we put programs and actions in place to raise that I don't know because we want our families to know that we do support that. To celebrate that, that percentage increased dramatically and the number of I don't knows went down in this case. So teaching and learning, you'll notice that 74% agreed or strongly disagreed, 82% the next year strongly agreed or disagreed, or agreed, and 89% of families this year agreed or strongly agreed that teaching and learning was overall very positive at hotel. Interpersonal relationships, 77%, 85%, and 89% of, that's the trend of growth in that area. Last year's respondents were overall very pleased with interpersonal relationships, both student to student and adult to student. And finally, in the family survey, the institutional environment, which really looks at the facilities and the overall ability to be engaged and welcomed in hotel. In 2018-19, we were at 80%, 2021, 91%, and last year at 95%. So our family survey data is very, very strong. And I'm going to go into a little bit more. The staff survey data has a little bit different trajectory. Under safety, we're about the same, 57% in 2018-19, 81% in 2021, 75% last year. Again, that hashtag represents a large I don't know response because our questions, which are sometimes geared towards instructional staff, are not relevant to custodial staff, secretarial staff, assistant staff. So some people don't know. Teaching and learning, staff, 95% of them feel they're our students are getting a quality education. Interpersonal relationships, 87% to 96% to last year, 76%. Again, there's some questions that had a large I don't know response. The institutional environment remains very high at 95%, and leadership and relations, which is a section that's, again, only on the staff survey, is at 73%. And the little print underneath shows areas where we want to grow. So just as an overall picture, what's kind of some through lines for all of the surveys this past year? At Hotel, we use GLOws and GROws as a way to give feedback. So GLOws, students, families, and staff feel Hotel is a safe place, both physically and emotionally. Students, family, and staff feel that supportive instructional practices are used. For example, feedback, individualized instruction to help students learn. Staff builds supportive peer and adult relationships where diversity and differences are accepted. Students and staff enjoy teaching and learning at Hotel. Families and staff think that Hotel provides the necessary resources. On the next page, families Families think the school communicates well. Staff thinks there's a clear vision for Botel. Staff thinks we have a supportive environment. Staff feels comfortable going to at least one administrator to share questions or concerns, and staff thinks the principal has high expectations. Under grows, families and staff think the school discipline program can be more effective. Students and families think that students should include others. Again, worthy of noting, 40% of families replied, I don't know, to questions about exclusion and bullying. Students in grades 3 through 6 think peer relationships can be more kind. Families think that students can be challenged more to meet high expectations. Staff thinks that communication can be improved. Staff thinks that leadership can be distributed more. And staff thinks that professional learning can be better aligned to students and staff needs. So again, I just want you to know that we will, with the State School Climate Committee, look again at all of these areas from the various stakeholders. I will set goals for myself based on this data, and we will set climate goals as a staff based on it.
And if I could just offer a postscript, I think in the midst of all of the concerns that has recently, kind of bubbled up in Norfolk, the teacher and family surveys are all anonymous. And there are just a couple things that just jump out at me. So in the staff survey, 21 of our 23 staff members responded. And to the question, the school staff, the school staff communicates well with me.
No, that's
Parents, staff survey. I like working in this school. 100% agreed or strongly agreed. This school is a caring and nurturing place. 100% of our staff members said agree or strongly agree. And I feel safe at this school. 100% of the staff members said I agree, strongly agree. In the parent survey, the school staff communicates well with me. Let me just say that 31 of our 51 families responded. And to the question or the statement, the school staff communicates well with me. 96.8% either agreed or strongly agreed. If I have questions or concerns, I know who to contact at the school. 100% of our families said agree or strongly agree. And I am satisfied with the response I get when I contact the school with questions or concerns. 96.8% agree or strongly agree. And this was very, made me happy because with all the stuff that I'm aware, I don't see it on Facebook, but nobody, all summer, all spring, not a soul has called my office, has called Lauren, has come in or asked to talk to me, has fact checked anything that's out there, much of which is totally inaccurate. We have done everything we can to be available, and when parents come and want to talk and ask questions and get answers or express concerns, it's just really satisfying to me that 31 of our 51 families that responded said that absolutely we feel heard and we get a response. So I don't know how else to encourage people to come to us, to come and talk to us. I don't know if there's a sense of distrust, but most of these people don't know me. So, come in and meet us and ask questions and share your concerns. And one-on-one, we can give you information that we can't give sometimes in a large setting. So I also want to say that I appreciate how difficult it's been for board members, who are parents and board members and members of this community, to be out there and in the position that you really can't, respond fully to people, and it puts you in a difficult position. So thank you for your stamina through all of this.
Ma'am, I was happy to hear about that exit survey. It sounded good, but just for the staff to answer that and then for them all to go elsewhere, it seems like, were they dishonest with the exit survey? You know what I mean? Why would they say that they loved it and not come?
It's anonymous. I couldn't answer that
I know.
question. I mean, it's anonymous.
It's almost like, is that survey really that good?
I did want to comment at the end of the principal report. The number as a teacher at my own inbox to the number of just cold calling emails for come fill this position, come interview for this position. And then hearing the reports nationwide about the teacher shortage, like all of I had a sense of panic when I first heard how many vacancies we were going to have to fill. So I just wanted to voice my support for not only having all of the positions filled, but the quality of the candidates we were able to do this very remote northwest corner of Connecticut. Because it, like Jess said in her letter, it's hard to afford to live here. And if you're not living here, it's going to be quite a commute. So it's a tough ask to fill all those spaces. And again, the quality of the candidates that were hired, I was just very impressed.
And Amy, if I could could I
No,
just
go ahead.
add, after every single interview, each of the candidates said, as I escorted them out the hall, and, I'm not, making this up to just toot our own horns, but I feel like we should toot our own horns a little bit. They said, your staff is so welcoming and responsive, and what a pleasure it was to meet them. And it's true, our interview committee is, outstanding and kind and welcoming, and we haven't changed our colors, just to be interviewing people. This is who we are. We care about one another. We care about, our kids. And when we, interviewed potential new hires, they got to see, almost a third of our staff and know who we are as professionals. So I am also very pleased at the quality of teachers that we have, and all of those teachers wanted to come here and had a choice. They didn't have to leave their positions to come here, but they did, and I'm thrilled with this.
And that's really important because, we've had conversations here and, two of our teachers who left were very clear. They don't like the multi-age model for all kinds of reasons. It's difficult for teachers. They have to, it requires, they didn't want to teach in that model. And, for them to, in the past, they've not been successful in finding other jobs in traditional schools because they've not been here. With this teacher shortage, the jobs have opened up. So, our teachers have been able to leave and find a job that there is more well-suited to them. And that's good for them and it's good for us. We had one teacher, and I say this, and it might sound very disrespectful, but schools are not employment agencies for adults. We're here to serve kids. And as administrators, we need to do and sometimes move people in a way that's going to best serve kids. So one of our teachers who left was hired as the intermediate teacher a couple of years ago. And when people left last year, we had to move because of certification reasons. That teacher was moved to the primary grade. This year, again, we had a lot of people leave. We needed to move people around. And when Lauren said, we need to move you back to the 3-4 position, the job for which you were hired, and this teacher said to her, I don't want to do that. And Lauren said, well, it's not an ask. We're telling you you're being reassigned. And she said, well, but I'm going to go find another job. And she did. And again, if we don't want a teacher teaching in a place where they're not happy, and the way it has worked out has been beautiful. The teacher coming in and filling that 3-4 position has taught that in a multi-age school for years. He's excited. He's, wants to be here. As Lauren said, this is a choice they're making to come here. Holly, who worked here for years and knows the school, made a choice of all the places she could have gone. Preschool teachers are like rare as hen's teeth. She wanted to come back to Botel, and our families who know her are thrilled to have her here. I can tell you that every replacement of every staff member that left this year is value added to Botel, and I have never been as excited as I am now to start a year with the team that we have. When we look at sports, and people have mentioned, we're not as good as Colbrook, forever and ever. Botel wasn't. CMT sports below. Well, it starts and ends in a classroom. So, having the very best teachers, and some of you are new or you don't, I have always looked for the very, very, very best teachers we can have, regardless of what it costs. And, people will say, if that's not an issue. And we need the very best teachers. We need them to want to be here, to be willing to do the work that it takes, and it's hard work to teach kids and to get every kid where they need to be. So, that's why they call it work, right? It's not hotel, spa, and resort. You come to work, it's hard. Teaching our kids, and we have a growing number of kids who need more help, who are struggling a little bit more. With COVID, it's been tough. We need teachers who are willing to go the extra mile over and over again. And I absolutely know that we have a staff coming in now that are going to be wonderful for our kids and are going to move the needle. Finally, we are a place where curriculum is in place. We've got all of the resources we need, and we will move the needle this year. And that's something I would promise you.
If I could just add to that, like, I can totally understand the community perception of listening and seeing, oh, we've got 5 teachers, 4 of them left. Losing 4 teachers in a teacher hiring market is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you get cold calls all the time. So anybody that wants to live closer to where they live, make a little bit more money because they're signing bonuses or whatever. Like I said, losing 4 teachers in a school year is nothing. The problem is that we have such a small community, and it might look like there's something wrong with the school because of that happening. There are things that we can't share in terms of employment records, community resources, and other things that we know that would clarify a lot of this. And so, I mean, I completely understand the perception, but it's the nature of being a small place, having a few amount of employees, the market for teachers, our location, it's this combination. And the one thing that's not part of the combination is a poison environment at hotels. That's one thing that I can say.
On the employment issues, though, that would have been something that you guys were aware of when that person was first hired, correct? Not moving down the road. You said that there's stuff that you couldn't share because of.
We can't share why some people left.
Oh, I mean, sure that you guys looked at their background and then thought something, okay.
Right, yeah, no, not a deficiency in hiring. We can't share why someone resigned in general.
Gotcha.
And, you know, and there are times where, no, I'm not even going to go. Yeah. We really, you're right, to your point. There are things that we know that we can't share with the public. And what really is, I think, most upsetting to me is that, there's such a quick instinct, whatever, to hold on to these negative things and to believe them and to not question and say, gee, maybe there's 2 sides to the story. Maybe there's more to it. Now, it just, in this small town where people are such a close-knit family, and Botel is your jewel, it's the center of your town, that there would be such a, I don't know, the negativity, it just seems to like.
Well, I don't think that folks are being that negative, and I think you should have waited while all the people are in here before you start talking like that. People weren't being negative, people are concerned for the children.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm
I
talking
know,
about,
but the room's clear now, you get some breathing room, twice a day.
and I'm talking to, you're right, and I.
Right,
looked over
you should have
and
brought that up when everybody was here.
I can't stop.
Well, then that's why we need to have more and more meetings. This isn't just bing, bang, boom, we're done. Like, you already got off task, went directly to, hey, let's call all the teachers by their first names. I, as a parent, don't agree with that. I think that the
That
parent
was
should be
part of
involved.
my report.
I know.
And a conversation with the board, and that's business that we take up,
Yeah, but I think that we're starting, there's serious concerns in this town, I don't know if you understand that, but we still might be having a vote of no confidence on the board and as well as you. So I don't think we should just go moving right along. We want to slow this down. Unfortunately, you're going to be babysat, is a nice way of saying it. You're going to have to be babysat.
all right, Chris, there was time for public comment, we're in the board meeting.
Yeah, I know, that's why everybody left, because they thought they were actually going to be able to come here.
Right, and so if you came to more board meetings, you see that we have these conversations
So,
every meeting.
yeah, but there was very little bit of time for the folks. So, like, I'm getting ready to leave and everybody's going to say, nothing's going to come of this.
Well,
What are we going to do?
we have our new business coming up. We need to get that. It's already been.
Things take time, you know?
Is there anything else for the principal's report? No. Do you have any questions for me? No. Yes, Janet.
I know there's a lot of talk about this. There's a lot of children in town looking forward to return. And I think she's really great with children. Jessica, it said, I would just like to say I agree with Dr. L. She did respond to me and is very available. I appreciated her answers to my concerns.
Same with Anne, who I know cannot be here today. That I know it's not public time to talk, but I very much appreciate that everyone who's here and answered a lot of my questions.
Thank you. All right, I just want to move on to the standing committee report. We don't have any committee meetings over the summer.
I just need to make a motion to push the alcohol and drug policy to the September regular meeting.
All in favor? Right, unanimously approved. So that's the policy one.
Yeah. So I was at a council for finance meeting today.
No, we were all out of town. I don't know, did anyone get to that? Yeah, we were all, we reached out to everyone. I don't know what happened with them.
I'm assuming if they're planning.
Haven't seen them yet. Because most of them are on the way. So we could probably create the,
It's fair.
right. I don't know. I think tomorrow. So, right, their services doesn't meet over the summer. PTO, we have Jenna Brown as president now. She's supposed to come in September. First PTO meeting is the 7th in the cafeteria at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
So, parents and staff are welcome to that meeting. You can also find it on Facebook and Instagram with you there too. With that, and the hotel advisory group. Unfinished business. Is there anything on the agenda for that? I don't think so, right? That's for the policy. New business, we already approved the bus route. The state convention, so November 17th and 18th in Groton is the Board of Connecticut. Right? Early bird is on the 26th, Friday. Trying to figure out. So I have a question for you. If we go to pay, we see what's credit card.
Yeah, if you want to go, let Kathy know, and we will tell him right.
Because I did want to go last year.
Yeah. So, Friday is usually the big full day, the nuts and bolts. I'll be there all day Friday. If board members are going to be going on Saturday as well, I would, certainly go the other day as well and keep you company there. But we can take advantage of the early bird discounts if we know by Friday. So Kathy will register me Friday, and anybody else, if you are going to go and if you want to go Friday.
You all have gotten those emails, right? And the daily emails and hourly emails. So other new business, I mentioned how I would bring up responses to public comments. We just had a lot of public comments, so I don't know if we want to discuss that now or ask maybe if we think about what are the best ways and how we could respond to public comment without it being individual.
Well, I think it would be just having a conversation, the same conversation over and over multiple times. As we spoke before the board meeting, I think it might be a good idea to, within the next week or two, to have an evening conversation with the board and administration. And, we can have it here, people can talk, and then we can have a back and forth interactive conversation. And at the same time, I'm happy to reach out. I've got Jessica and her husband, Chris Gomez, Patricia Coffey, Kurt Olson, and Matt. And I don't know what Sandy Evans, she's one of our selectmen. I would be happy to reach out and invite any of them to come in for a one-on-one, and let them know that we're also going to have a larger group conversation if they would be, comfortable or prefer that, so that there are a couple venues for people to, follow.
Honestly, hours of the administrators.
Pardon?
The monthly hours of the administrators?
So, Laura and I were talking about that. Last year, we met every month, we had them in person and online. You showed up for one, Amy showed up, Jenna Brown showed up, people, Ann showed up, So
But we'll keep having
we
them.
kept having them, and the last 2 or 3, nobody showed up. So we put it out there in newsletters, we put it on the website. We don't get anybody coming in and talking to us. If you've got any suggestions for how we can.
Donuts.
Hmm?
Donuts.
Donuts, oh. There's some for donuts and
Well,
pizza.
it sounds like we'll have people coming in.
So, we can certainly continue that practice, but I will say if we go month after month and we're not getting any response at some point, to stay here till 7 o'clock at night. talk to
Well,
each other.
And, knowing that, like, I'm here every day, my
Yeah.
door is open,
Yeah.
you can come in and talk to me, make an appointment, email me, half of you are parents, that I'm, fairly responsive. So, I think people now know that if they have a concern, they can come to either one of us at any point and don't need a forum day to do it. However, I think it's nice to have something formal too.
So let's put something on schedule that's in the evening. Either here or at the hub, whatever's convenient.
Here, personally, it's nice
Yeah,
and
sunset.
big. and-
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be better here.
If we have a quorum of board members but not have a board meeting, what happens with that?
You can have I will call it a conversation with the administrators, and the board members can come and be participants. You're all Norfolk residents, most of you parents here. I don't think there's any conflict. There will be no motions, there will be no votes, there will be no action taken. It'll be just conversation, listening and responding, the best we can to the questions, if we are able to, and
I think it's a conversation is fair.
and clarification. Yeah.
Really appreciative to hear so many of the public comments. I've heard this repeatedly. I think there's some acknowledgement that the information that is out there, and right, but it means it doesn't have all of the information shared with the board simply because some of that is
Right.
in public.
And people get frustrated, understandably so, and say, we can't. And sometimes, so much and you can't share it, but that's the charge that we are all under. So
And I think
hopefully
when
people
something,
understand that.
when people can't get an answer to something, you tend to, create a narrative, as at least I do, of what's the problem here? And, I think that's a normal reaction. So it's important to communicate to the school and, community at large that.
Yeah, this is my first time sitting, so I wasn't aware that we only had a moment to speak, and when not to speak, I apologize, but I don't know, as far as Matt said, this is all serious as far as getting this merger going. Would that be stuff that the Board of Education is working on, or are we gonna make a committee of other folks in town to get going on that fairly rapidly?
Maybe we should adjourn the meeting and then we could talk.
Right.
I've never been, I just wanna.
We're almost done. We can talk to you about that.
Yeah.
So can we poll, find out what's a good day or night to have that? Because we meet again in 2 weeks. So I don't know if we want to meet before then, or at least have it scheduled, so that yeah.
If I could ask, so I'm here Tuesdays, if we could do a Tuesday evening, that's usually board meeting night as well. A Tuesday at 6 o'clock would be really, although some Tuesdays I teach at Central, but next Tuesday, I'm available at 6 o'clock. If that's a good time, that's usually our board meeting time.
I'm not, but, I don't want
That would be Tuesday between now and 4 p.m.
Right. And really, at this late notice, with next week being the beginning of school, I don't think there's a night other than Tuesday that I could come up.
Well, can we do it the night of the board meeting? If our board meeting is 6, and we say 7:30, schedule Q&A.
Okay, that would be fine with me. I will be here.
Because we'll all be here anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think that meeting won't be long because we still don't have any committee reports to
Right.
report on. And we
And I
just
promise
went.
I won't come during it, so it'll go
Okay.
quick.
Then maybe you can make it at 7 o'clock.
Okay. So,
Can we maybe put together a fact sheet for the public for that, meeting, some of the questions that have been raised?
Yeah.
Maybe kind of try to answer them.
And this is on such short notice, we should make sure that the word gets out through all possible venues. So if anybody has any social media or whatever. Well, it seems to be that's the way everything's being taken out, so I would recommend, because it's sad that it's that way. The meetings are posted online, but numbers of views are.
right, and they're also, our regular meetings are on their calendar, so we can reach, you know, the conversation.
There's a question of will a virtual option be available?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Is that under?
It'll be all set up for it anyway with the board meeting.
Right.
That would be great.
We'll just record it separately.
And you put it on there. Get it out.
Right. and put it in the newsletter. Okay. And Matt has his weekly emails, maybe we can ask.
Yeah. Thursday.
All right, any,
Has Keith bring up accessibility inspection?
It's 10 o'clock next Tuesday morning. You gonna come? Oh, good. Okay.
any other new business, questions, comments from the board? And thank you all for coming on, Tuesday afternoon.
I want to thank all the people who did participate
Yeah.
and point to feedback. Absolutely. And there are a lot of forms for it, and I mean, so we need as much information as possible. Thank you. And anticipate. It's,
I think the public's always strongly encouraged.
Oh, absolutely.
everybody in town is a stakeholder.
I want to let you guys know, I know I come off as a hard charger, that's what I do. However, I'm not putting blame on any of you folks, and here's why I say it.
1 second, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
I move to adjourn.
And I think this should be said. This may be something for you guys to
All
think
in
about.
favor? Aye, okay.
Those teachers that did say,
Right,
well, I
meeting's
don't
over.
want to do this,
Thank you.